Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground begins with a voice, angry, bitter, defiant. It's not the voice of a hero or a villain, but something far more unsettling. A man who has retreated into himself, rejecting society and its values. But where did this voice come from? To understand the underground man, we must first understand the man who created him. Born in 1821, Fyodor Dostoevsky grew up in a world of contradictions. His father, a strict and abusive man, was a doctor who treated the poor, while his mother provided the warmth and compassion he craved. This duality, the clash between suffering and empathy, would shape Dostoevsky's outlook on life and his work. As a young man, Dostoevsky was drawn to literature and philosophy, devouring works by Shakespeare, Pushkin, and Goethe. But it wasn't just the greats of fiction that influenced him. Early exposure to the harsh realities of Russian society, poverty, inequality, and the oppressive weight of the Tsarist regime left a lasting impression on him. At the age of 28, he was arrested for participating in a radical intellectual circle that discussed ideas considered subversive by the state. Among them, socialism, atheism, and freedom of thought. Sentenced to death, Dostoevsky stood before a firing squad, only to receive a last-minute reprieve. His sentence was commuted to hard labor in Siberia. The experience was transformative. In the harsh conditions of the Siberian prison camp, Dostoevsky was stripped of everything: his freedom, his comforts, and his sense of self. Yet, amidst this suffering, he found something unexpected: a profound connection to humanity. Surrounded by criminals and outcasts, he observed the depths of despair, but also the resilience of the human spirit. When Dostoevsky emerged from exile, he was a changed man. His faith, once shaky, was reignited. But it wasn't a blind faith. It was a faith born from suffering, doubt, and the raw complexities of human existence. He began to wrestle with the big questions. What drives human behavior? Why do we act against our own interests? And can true freedom exist in a world of societal constraints? These questions would become central to his work, particularly in Notes from Underground. Published in 1864, Notes from Underground was unlike anything Dostoevsky had written before. It wasn't a traditional novel. It was a monologue, a confession, a manifesto. The underground man is a paradox, intelligent but self-loathing, articulate but bitterly cynical, yearning for connection yet pushing everyone away. Through his character, Dostoevsky explored the darker corners of human psychology, our capacity for self-destruction, our resistance to happiness, and our rebellion against reason itself. In many ways, the underground man was a reflection of Dostoevsky himself, or at least the fears and contradictions that haunted him. Notes from Underground wasn't just a critique of 19th century Russian society. It was a warning. Dostoevsky saw the rise of rationalism and utilitarianism, the idea that human behavior could be reduced to equations of pleasure and pain as a threat to the soul. I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. With these words, the underground man introduces himself. He is not a hero. He is not even an anti-hero. He is a contradiction. Angry, self-loathing, intelligent, yet deeply irrational. But what is he trying to tell us? And why does his voice still haunt us today? The underground man is, above all else, a man of exile, not from a physical place, but from society, from others, and even from himself. He has chosen to retreat underground, to a world of his own making, where he can lash out at the world without fear of confrontation. But this retreat isn't a place of peace, it's a prison of his own making. His isolation fuels his bitterness, and his bitterness deepens his isolation. He wants to connect, but he cannot, or perhaps will not. The underground man despises the idea that human behavior can be reduced to equations of pleasure and pain. He rejects the rationalist philosophy of his time, the belief that humans are predictable, logical beings will always act in their best interest. For him, the idea is dehumanizing. It strips away the chaos, the irrationality, and the contradictions that make us human. The underground man declares, man is sometimes extraordinarily, passionately in love with suffering. This is his rebellion against the idea that happiness is the ultimate goal. At the heart of the underground man's philosophy is a fierce defense of freedom. But this is not the freedom to be happy or successful. It is the freedom to choose, even when those choices lead to pain, chaos, and destruction. In one of the most striking passages he writes, "What sort of free will is it if my desire is dictated by reason? I want to act as I will, not as I must." For the underground man, freedom is messy, illogical, and often self-destructive. but it is also profoundly human. But beneath his defiance lies a deeper question. If happiness and rationality are not the ultimate goals, then what is? The Underground Man does not offer easy answers. In fact, he seems to suggest that the search for meaning itself is absurd. He mocks those who cling to grand narratives or utopian visions. For him, life is not a puzzle to be solved or a goal to be achieved. It is a struggle, a constant negotiation between what we want, what we fear, and what we cannot understand. So why does the Underground Man's voice still resonate today? Perhaps it's because his struggles are timeless. In a world obsessed with productivity, success, and happiness, his refusal to conform feels both alien and familiar. We live in an age of algorithms and optimization, where every decision is guided by data. And yet, like the Underground Man, we yearn for something more, something messy, unpredictable, and deeply human. Perhaps the Underground Man's greatest struggle isn't with society or rationalism, but with himself. He is painfully self-aware, dissecting every thought, every action, until nothing remains but doubt. This constant introspection becomes his prison, a vicious cycle where every choice feels wrong before it's been made. In one of his most bitter moments, the Underground Man asks, "Can a man of heightened consciousness respect himself at all?" For him, awareness isn't a gift, it's a curse. To be fully conscious is to see every flaw, every failure, and every contradiction within oneself. It's no wonder he retreats underground. There, at least, he can escape the gaze of others, even if he cannot escape his own. But what does this tell us about our own struggles? How often do we second-guess ourselves, paralyzed by the weight of our thoughts? Like the Underground Man, we fear judgment, not just from others, but from the harshest critic of all, ourselves. And in this battle with self, we sometimes choose inaction, believing it's safer to do nothing than to risk being wrong. Dostoevsky didn't offer solutions to this inner battle. Instead, he forces us to confront it. He asks us to sit with our discomfort, to accept our contradictions, and to recognize that the path to self-acceptance may begin not with answers, but with the courage to face our doubts head-on. In the end, the Underground Man is not just a character in a story. He is a mirror, reflecting our fears, contradictions, and desires. He forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore, our doubts, our irrationality, and our longing to be free, no matter the cost. Dostoevsky didn't write Notes from Underground to provide answers. He wrote it to ask questions, questions that remain urgent and unsettling now as they were in his time. And perhaps the greatest question of all is this: if we are all in some way underground, how do we begin to find our way back to the surface?